It's so rare that you have a fully mixed sport, and that's what really struck me in my first experience.
And that's what I love about touch. You need a ball and a couple of people, you can go and play touch. It is so simple.
I think it's just amazing that Jersey can compete on essentially a world stage at something. There's not many sports that happens in. England were getting told off for losing to Little Jersey at halftime. It's a fabulous experience for players because it's the only chance you really get to see touch players from all over the world compete, and it's such a lovely atmosphere as well.
And that's the unique thing about our sport. You could be 15 years old and playing with your mum and your granddad in the same team.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Sportscast Jersey. Today we have with a couple of touch rugby players in Tim Macready and Ruth Brooks. How are we both doing?
Good, thank you very much. Enjoying the weather?
Yeah, wonderful.
wonderful weather. I always start with the same question, no matter who the kind of guests in this case are, and that is, have you always been into sport since a young age? I'll start with you, Ruth.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have older brothers who are very much into sport. So I was kind of thrust onto various different sports pitches from a really young age. I played school netball, hockey, same for the island, athletics, all of the sports that you'd expect. And then I found touch rugby when I was about 14, 15, played for school. And the rest is history, as they say. So yeah, I've always been into sports for sure.
Yeah. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, I'm an absolute sports mad freak. I've played anything I could play from a young age. Absolutely anything I could play or watch on the TV, I'd be obsessed. At school, I played for school for everything I possibly could: basketball, badminton, cricket, football, rugby. And then trained to be a PE teacher and taught PE for 10 years in the north of England as well. So sport is, my wife will testify to the fact that we need two televisions because one permanently has sport on
it. Yeah. Same as here. You touched on it there, Ruth, but for yourself, Tim, where did touch rugby come from for you? Where did you first hear about it? And do you remember the first session?
Well, I first heard about it when before I went to university, I worked in finance for a few years, and a mate at work just said, "Did you ever play rugby at school?" Yeah. I said, "Oh, well, we're playing touch tonight up at the club, touch rugby." Okay, what's that? He said, "Oh, just turn up with some boots, you'll be fine." So that I was about 18, 19, so 1 or 2 years ago. And played a few games, thought this is absolutely amazing. And we were running in tries for fun. And the guys who were running the team said, "Can you play next week?" "Yeah, sound." Same again. "Well, can you play next week?" "Yeah, sound." Same again. And then all of a sudden said, "Oh, we're in a semi-final." I'm like, okay, clueless. We won that. And then we got to the final, and having been wiping the floor with teams all the way through, we got to the final and got absolutely torn apart by some barefooted South Africans. What's the lesson? But even then, I still loved it because I thought, wow, actually, there's another level to take this sport to that I hadn't even considered. We were just half-decent rugby players. The guys we played against were touch players, and it really showed.
Yeah. How about you? You said you heard about it at school, but do you remember your first experiences?
Yes, I was quite sporty at school, and my form tutor was actually the person that ran the touch team for Holia. And I think I was a bit of a reprobate, and so she saw that it was going to be a good channel for me to curb that, and so she said, "Oh, Ruth, we need more girls to come play touch." And I had no idea what the sport was. I just, was a bit too much of a wimp for rugby, I think, at the time, and so I said, "Yeah, okay, I'll come and play." And what really struck me was that it was such a mixed sport. So the team's half boys, half girls, and you get doubles in badminton and tennis and racket sports generally, but it's so rare that you have a fully mixed sport, and that's what really struck me in my first experience. And I just thought, oh, you just run along with the ball. And then I realized how much more technical it is. And which I love. I love strategy and tactics in games and all of that. And so that really, really drew me to it. And we entered the league, the corporate league that we still run to this day, the summer league in Jersey, as Holier School, and Holier still enter. So that's how long they've been at it, and they're at it before my time as well. And I just really enjoyed it. We went and played, and I had good hand-eye coordination for the other sports I'd done. I'd never really played rugby, but other sports help with that. And so really, really got into it. And then someone was announcing at the summer league, if you want to play, come and join our actual training sessions for touch. So I thought, oh yeah, let's add another sport to my repertoire, much like Tim, play anything going. And from there, I just loved it more and more and more and more. And played my first European Championships in 2010 when I was 17.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a really good story. And in terms of the sport itself, I'll throw it out to both of you, to whoever wants to take this one. But for those who might not know it as well as others or have never heard of it, can you just describe what the actual kind of concept is, what the rules are, just briefly?
Well, I'll start, and Ruth can correct me because she is a qualified referee. From reprobate to referee, maybe there's something. Essentially, if you've got a ball in your hand, run forward, try and get down the pitch and score a try. A tackle is, as the name suggests, any sort of touch on the ball carrier means they have to stop and put the ball down. And the defensive team has to retreat 7 meters. You get 6 attempts to get up the pitch and score a try. If on the 6th attempt you get touched, you have to give the ball to the opposition, and then they have a go. Essentially, if you've got the ball in your hands, run forward, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself, Tim. And it is 6-a-side. So the sport's 6-a-side, but you play on essentially a full-size rugby pitch. So there's quite a lot of movement involved, but it is rolling subs, which I think is, a lot of sports have brought rolling subs in now, but touch were pretty much the original ones to do it. So you're sort of 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off the pitch, because it's quite intense when you're on the field. But they're in a mixed team, 3 men, 3 women, it's Tim pretty much said it all. Apart from that, try and score, run forward, pass the ball backwards like you would in rugby, and
Was it when you first started? Was it pretty easy for you to pick up those kind of the basic rules and the concept of the game, or did it take a bit of time?
I'd say if you've got the right people with you to get started, it's so easy. The one thing that I absolutely love about touch, and this is going to sound a bit odd in the first instance, I played a lot of football. And the one thing that people love about football is all you need equipment-wise is a ball, and the whole sort of jumpers for goalposts analogy. And that's what I love about touch. You need a ball and a couple of people, you can go and play touch. It is so simple. And as long as you, as Ruth says, as long as you can catch and pass the ball backwards, that's pretty much it. You can go from never having played rugby before, and after 20 minutes, half an hour, you've more or less gone, oh, okay, this is fairly simple, move on. We're trying to make as an association, we're trying to make things more simple, because often we go into complicated too quickly. But we had a services day last summer where police, fire, ambulance, and prison service came up and just wanted a day where they just wanted to do something different, get together, have some fun. And we taught them the basics of touch in about 20 minutes, and then they had a great day playing each other.
Yeah, amazing. I want to move on to the Jersey team or Jersey teams and the recent tournaments that you've entered. And the one I want to start with was the European Championships in 2022. You entered 2 teams. How good is it that you enter these tournaments as small little Jersey and go and have a go at a European Championships? How good experience is it?
I think if you look back at the history of the sport, in 2002 and 2004, Jersey actually won the European Championships. So there's good, we've got good history, a good legacy in the sport, and we've been very lucky to have some fabulous players and coaches come through the ranks. I think it's just amazing that Jersey can compete on essentially a world stage at something. There's not many sports that happens in, and to be able to hold our own. So I played in the mixed open. Tim played in the senior men's team. I think she sound really old, Tim. Sorry about that.
There is a reason for that.
And we came sixth overall in the mixed team, which I think was fabulous considering there were some very, very new players. I think, I could count on one hand the number of players in our mixed team that had previously played at that level. So it was great for the young ones to be exposed to that level of play, and the fact that at halftime we held England, Wales, Scotland to draws at halftime.
That England game was incredible. You lot were so good.
Yeah, and we which is amazing for us, and really the only reason we lost it towards the end was because of numbers. We just didn't have enough people. We took a minimal squad as it stood because we were struggling to get the numbers. But it might have been a different story had we had a full squad. But it was fabulous to play and said really hold our own against really established nations who have much bigger setups than us. And I think that just goes to show how great the quality of Jersey Touch is.
Yeah.
It is a bit bonkers, Danny, to be honest. When I first got a phone call off a young man called Nick Guy in 2014 to say, do you want to play in the European Championships? My head nearly exploded. What? Yeah, of course I do. Why wouldn't I? For Jersey, what, against like Wales and people like that? Yeah, it's just brilliant. Especially as a kid, where often, sort of growing up, say to my dad, well, how come Jersey aren't in the World Cup? Don't be daft, son. All of a sudden, I am going to play in the World Cup. Now, admittedly, yes, I am a gentleman of a certain age. But it's an ambition that kids on this island can have. They can go and represent Jersey in the European Championships or in a World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of those England games, when you're in it and you're part of the team and in the game itself, what was going through your head? Did you think, wow, this is surreal that we're actually keeping hold of them and frustrating them?
Oh, well, for sure. And I think, I've been fortunate enough to beat England several times over the years. Just depend, where the sport's developed to. But now they are, well regarded as the best team in Europe in multiple different categories. So we went in there with nothing to lose. If we came out with a loss, but we felt we played well, we would have been, ecstatic. And we went in and we scored first, and it was 1-0 to Jersey. And then I think we all gained a bit of confidence, and the mixed team were really lucky. We had the senior men's team on the side cheering us on. That gave us a bit of a boost to just keep going. And then it was 2-2 at half time, and we thought, oh my goodness, how has this happened? It was a wonderful feeling, but it's a much better feeling to know that you're just playing really, really good touch rugby, that we were playing as best we could. And that was enough to know that when we're playing our best, we're enough to compete at that level is the best feeling of all, I think. And to see the newbies' faces when they're thinking, oh my goodness, we're actually beating England, that is, I don't think that's really matched, to be honest.
Yeah, we were so pumped on the sidelines as well. We were screaming our heads off. We don't normally do that. Normally, gentlemen of a certain age, having played a game of touch, are a little bit exhausted. And then I was lucky enough to be in the team huddle at half time, and I just thought, I don't know what to say to these guys. They are playing out of their skins, and you could see them all, the level of commitment they were giving, and then that realization of we're decent, and when they're going, you just carry on doing what you're doing, because they don't have any answers right now, and just couldn't believe it really. I couldn't. We've got some very, very good players. Ruth had one of her best games of the tournament, I seem to remember. So it's just fantastic to see that people that have worked so hard, it's paying off.
Yeah,
and there's some group satisfaction as well that that England were getting told off for losing to little Jersey at halftime.
yeah, absolutely. I want to move on just to, obviously, depends how you look at it, because to us Islanders, playing Guernsey is just as big as playing England. So how good are the interventioners when they come about? And obviously, it's a huge game in any Islanders sporting kind of calendar. So how are these games, and how have they developed over the years?
They're just great fun. The guys from Guernsey as well. We started our men's over 40s as we were a few years ago, and Guernsey didn't have a senior men's side, so they said, "Look, can we put something together?" So that fixture's grown, and we've got to know the guys. They're great fun. And then the mixed have always played, and there's been a senior a men's and a women's, and you kind of get to know the players because a core of players will stay, and then obviously people will rotate around that. And then last year, for the first time in 3 or 4 years, we had an under-18s, which was absolutely amazing, given that our under-18s basically were an under-17, 2 under-17s, some under-16s, and some under-15s. And it's just brilliant because Guernsey are always keen to come over, and we went over there last year, and they were great. Their setup was really good. We used the rugby club there, and yeah, it's very, very competitive when you cross the white line. Very competitive. No one wants to give an inch or a centimetre or anything. But then once you're done, it's just good. It's just good fun, and then it's nice, especially for me as chair, to chat with their committee, how you getting on, why are you trying this, what you're doing. So that not only is it fierce rivalry on the pitch, it's quite a good support as well.
Yeah. I wanted to ask that about the tournaments that you go to, obviously Europeans as well. Is the social side just as good? Because I'm guessing afterwards you get to, obviously there's beers, there's drinks, there's whatever, but you get to talk to other countries and other teams and to see how they're doing things, and how much do you learn off them?
Oh, loads. I think so. Last year, well, no, 2 years ago, goodness, at the last European Championships we went to, we were staying in the same accommodation as the Welsh team, as the Welsh mixed team, and they actually won. They won the European Championships. So it was really cool for our players to talk to them because they were really experienced. So to gather that, and then also it's also networking in some ways. So saying, "Oh, do you want to come over and we can play you in practice games?" Because really for Jersey, the scope of where we can play is small, right? There's not a lot of tournaments that we can enter. There's nothing on islands. We always have to travel off. So if we can garner that interest from other teams, that's fabulous. And it's just learning about the setup. So I've been playing kind of international touch for the best part of 13, 14 years. So it's really interesting as well to see how the sports have developed in those other countries as well. To know that England now have paid touch rugby positions in their setup, and it's a full-time job for some people. I believe it's somewhere around 100,000 people play touch in England, whereas that's the same number of people we have in Jersey, it's fabulous to see that sport expand in other places as well as Jersey, and to see how we can piggyback on the back of that, including getting referees qualifications. We can bring over referees from other countries to come and do qualifications here. One of the big things as the sport has grown is the idea that it may well be in the Olympics, and I believe that they're pushing for it to be in the Olympics in 2032. So it's that's another way that it's developed, and that's what we see at the those European champs and that kind of thing. We get to hear that kind of stuff, as well as obviously get on the good after party as well. That's always a fancy dress event.
I think Ruth's spot on. One thing, we've developed quite a good relationship with the Wales senior men's as well. They're such a great bunch of guys, and we played our first ever international at the Cardiff Arms Park as a men's over 40s. We'll not talk about how that went, but let's just say we came second by some distance. But like Ruth says, they were great. So in terms of development, guys, they'll say, look, they've been able to play us, and then we'll see them at tournaments. You get used to it, and they say, oh, look, here's how we're playing now. We're trying this, we're trying that. And I think also what Ruth touched on is that with the development in England, it is becoming massive to a point where last year, England Touch were awarded national governing body status. So touch now is actually officially a sport in the UK, which is huge, because once you've got a national, have been recognised by Sport England as a governing body, it means it can go on curriculums. You know, kids who play touch can now enter that as a sport on their GCSE, which they couldn't before. So in terms of, like you said, and Ruth says about the networking and stuff, it's huge at those tournaments because you get quite friendly with people. And I've got a good contact in Portugal now, so I probably should mention Diogo if he's watching this, because he'll not forgive me if I don't. Because the first thing when we announced our new committee, for example, with me as chair, I had a message straight away from Diogo. Right, mate, this is awesome. When you coming over?
Yeah.
So little things like that make a huge difference.
Yeah, yeah, amazing, and it's important to do those links and gain those links, like you said, to get people to Jersey, and then that just helps Jersey as well in different ways and what have you. But I want to talk about this coming year. It's a big one, World Cup. You touched on it before, but how big is this for you as players, and this experience going to be?
No, go on, Ruth. You've been to a World Cup before. I haven't.
I have. It's massive. So, I mean, in terms of how big it is for us as an island, I think of people that are around and eligible for the mixed open team still. I think there's only 2 of us that have played a World Cup, so it'll be an amazing experience for everyone who wants to be involved with that. It's double the size of a European Championship, so I believe there's going to be somewhere between 20 and 25 teams entered in the mixed open division, but there are age divisions up to over 50s and over 55s, I think. So there's something for everyone in there across all the categories. And it's the only time you really get to see the Southern Hemisphere teams play. And Australia and New Zealand are the top 2 teams in the world. They always have been. Hopefully they won't always be, but they have been since the inception of the sport. And watching them play and having the privilege of playing against them is absolutely fabulous. Like when we played in 2011, I think we lost to Australia 21-1, and we came off that pitch buzzing, and we just said, thanks, that was great. Like, it's a story to tell. And again, we lost to New Zealand 19-1. It's, that was the kind of difference in level then. And it's still, the difference is still large now, but hopefully we'd score more than 1. But they were, beating all teams in Europe to that kind of level. So it just shows the disparity in the sport back then, which again has closed. I know that England are hoping for a bronze medal in the men's game at this World Cup, and I think it's a fabulous experience for players, because it's the only chance you really get to see touch players from all over the world compete, and it's such a lovely atmosphere as well. Everyone's there to compete, everyone's there to do well, but generally I think you find in the touch community that people are great, people are really nice, and they're always like open to have a chat and to tell you about the sport in their country.
Yeah. How about you, Tim? Obviously your first one, so how keen are you?
I'm like a kid at Christmas. I can't wait to go and get and see how we get on against the likes of New Zealand and Australia and South Africa and whoever else. I just can't even, for me, it's a little bit, am I actually playing against these guys? And when as you get to know the touch community, as you get to know the touch world, there is a strong possibility we could be playing against former All Blacks in the men's over 45s, because they do play. We could be playing against former Wallaby players from Australia, because touch in New Zealand and Australia is massive, absolutely massive. Richie Mwanga is one of the most famous products from touch rugby, who has just been named, I think it was one of the players of the tournament at the Rugby World Cup for New Zealand, playing at number 10, playing at fly half. So it is absolutely huge. So to sort of our game, we've moved our game on and on and on over the years, so to go and test that against people that are just vastly experienced and what have you, and just be able to play against someone else, meet some different guys, which will be a lot of fun in itself. Yeah, I mean, when Ruth said because it's little things that don't dawn on me because I get so focused in the now. And when Ruth says, "Oh, it's like a European Championships with double the size," my brain just went, "Whoa!" Because the European Championships are huge anyway. Thousands of touch players. So goodness knows what it's, and it's in Nottingham again. So we know the venue. We've been there twice, and I'm trying to imagine what it's going to look like even bigger, because that venue is enormous anyway. So yeah,
We're
the
moving to
excitement
multiple
level through.
venues for it.
Oh, is it?
So,
Yes, you're
yeah,
right.
yeah. But yeah, similar to Tim's point about playing against All Blacks and Wallabies. In the mixed open as well. We've certainly played against girls who've played for their countries in sevens in the Olympics. So Niall Williams, Sonny Bill Williams' sister, she plays for New Zealand. We played against her. She's actually been to Jersey to help coach us before European Championships. And there's a woman called Megan Jones who plays in the Great British Sevens team as well. So it's really, it's great to play against these people that maybe you've seen on other stages, and that's a whole nother facet to it, really.
Yeah, so exciting. Good luck over there, because it's going to be immense to follow it, and just to follow another. I went to Walking Football World Cup, and just
Oh yeah, I saw that.
that sense of being at a World Cup with Jersey, it's amazing. So enjoy the experience over there. Couple more questions from me today. Locally, obviously, we were talking big tournaments and what have you, but socially, there's an opportunity as well for players and people to get involved in the sport. Talk to me about the leagues here in Jersey and how people can get involved.
Well, we will be running our summer league, as we have done, as Ruth mentioned before, for a number of years, and we had 16 teams in it last year, including two teams. Some school teams, Victoria College put a team, Holia, Dallasell, and we had two teams of youth players who were all under 16s as well, which was very encouraging, and then various firms. But basically, anyone can enter. It is mixed. We're not strict on the mixed criteria of the rules, because what we found is actually that stops people from playing, because you say, "Oh, we'd put a team in, but we only had two women." And then my view was, right, great. So we've stopped those two women from playing the sport. That's not good enough. So we just said, "Oh, just put in a team, and if you've got some girls, let them play. Just let them play, because you have to give those opportunities." And that's the unique thing about our sport. You could be 15 years old and playing with your mum and your granddad in the same team. It is that varied. So socially, that will be happening usually May to July. We're usually at Kennevay, but we're potentially looking at some other venues. But if you just want to come down and play Sunday mornings up at Kennevay, 10:30, just turn up with a pair of boots and some water, and we'll show you around the pitch. Simple as that.
Yeah, and I want to ask as well, in terms of players, obviously you've been playing a long time, Ruth. How have you enjoyed watching players? Obviously, some go, but a lot of new faces all the time coming in. How do you enjoy seeing their development and their love for the sport grow as well?
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant. So when we first sort of had our initial influx of youth players, they started at 14, and there's a group of about 5 lads, and they're now 20, and they're all at uni. And they, sometimes it was a bit hard to get them to come to training those early mornings, and then they really took to it. They all played in the European Championships. They absolutely adored it, and now one of them has gone on and is playing for the England men's team. So it's really great to see the development, and that's the same across loads of people. That was just the example I could think of with those lads, and they've all stuck around. They're all gonna hopefully play in the World Cup. And it's just really great to see people coming into the sport, latching onto it, and then developing their skills. As I said, with good feed in from Colts, in the past. So there are links with rugby there, and it's just great to see. Yeah, it's great to see anyone come in, develop, and then play at the level that they want to play at. If you want to stay at corporate level, summer league level, that's absolutely fine. We welcome more players. If you want to push and go for those international spots, then we love it. We love the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And final kind of question to you both is, how much would you encourage people to start the sport, and how much does the sport kind of mean in a way to you guys, and how much do you enjoy having it in your life?
Oh, that's a good question. Just come and play. It's so much fun. Because of the nature of the fact that it's so mixed, and like I said before, ages, male, female, whatever, you're gonna have fun, no matter what. What does it mean to me? Wow. I've never really experienced a sport like it. I've played, obviously, like I said, a lot of football. I coached under 15s at the Mies and Juniors. But it's just the fact that you can just come and have a run around and enjoy it, and it's really good for your well-being. It's really good for your fitness, and it's just really good for you socially. Huge part of my life. I've got some amazing friends and contacts out of it, which I never would have predicted. So yeah, that's where I sit with it. And it's just nice watching. Ruth alluded to the guys that have come through. There's now some more youngsters picking it up and going, hang on, this is actually really good. Yes, that's correct. You can just come and enjoy it. So that's where I sit with it.
How about you, Ruth?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's been part of my life for so long now that I couldn't imagine my life without it. I said it's like a family. That's really what it feels like. I know it's so cliche, but it genuinely does feel like a family. We've got all ages, just like you would in a family. We bicker like we're a family, but we all get on at the end of the day. And I think for me, I stopped playing all sports for a few years. I had some mental health problems, and touch was what got me back. So it means more to me than probably even Tim knows, that touch was the way that I got back into it. I'd been out of it, and I was asked to referee at the European Championships for Jersey because we were missing a ref. And I thought, I've not been around the sport. I've not done anything for ages. And I went, and that was the trigger that got me back into it. And so it saved me in more than one way.
Amazing way to finish as well. It's been great talking all things touch with you guys, and thank you for your time and your stories as well.
Cheers, Danny. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Dan.
No worries at all. Thank you to everyone that's watched or listened to this episode as well. Another episode of Sportscast Jersey is coming soon.